Living History, World War II stories as told by those who were there.
And today we have the honor and the privilege of interviewing Ensign Bill Tunstall. Ensign Tunstall was a plane captain aboard the Hornet with Torpedo 8 during the Battle of Midway during World War II. You and the Enterprise and the Yorktown, how close were you carriers together? Could you see the other carriers during the battle?
Yeah, we were close to the Saratoga. I mean, the Yorktown. When it got hit.
Okay, when it got hit, yeah.
Yeah.
But prior to getting hit is when, and maybe this would be a good time to show these guys here.
Oh yeah, let me show you those fellas.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we can put it right
Let
here.
me take it this way.
Yeah, okay, you can do it that way. That's better, yeah. Yeah, that's a Life magazine. That's Ensign Gay. Tell me a little bit about him.
Well, George was an ensign. I flew with him because I was a bombardier, and I flew with him several times, and we got to be very, very good friends. And
so you actually went up in his plane with him?
Yeah, before the Battle of Midway.
Yeah.
But even after that, I got to know him quite well. But anyway, the story about Torpedo 8 was in this magazine, which was dated
August 31. 42.
August 31. The battle took place on June the 15th. Now, these were the pilots. These were the pilots, and this is a man over here, Abercrombie, who flew the airplane I maintained. And down here is George Gay, and the squadron commander is a fellow up here. And all of these pilots got killed, except George Gay. And the radioman. And the radioman, there were 15 radiomen all got killed. And the radio on my airplane was a man by the name of Bernie Phelps. But I look at this picture and I can tell you stories. Like this man over here is George Campbell, and I mentioned that I had been across from the Atlantic to the Pacific. He's the man who flew the airplane that I was in. So anyway, these were very, very part of my life, and I have this magazine and I treasure it, and I get it out every once in a while and look at it and say a good word for those guys. Here's the commanding officer of the squadron. His name was George Waldron.
Waldron, right?
Yeah.
John Waldron. Yeah.
John Waldron.
Yeah, and there's in that article, I know there's a poignant letter that he had written to his wife just prior to the battle, and
Waldron was quite a man. He wasn't the kind of a man that would come out and talk to you, but personally, and say how are you and so on. He'd come out and say, do this and do that. I think he was a graduate of the Naval Academy in days gone by. He was a lieutenant commander and a fine man. And he was a good leader. And he took those airplanes out and he did what they were supposed to. We don't know whether or not they got any hits or not. But I'll tell you this, that I recall before they took off, Waldron and the air officer were standing over by the island on the Hornet, and they were arguing. And I found out later on what they were arguing about was that Waldron was telling the air officer, no, you're wrong. The Japanese fleet's over this way. And the air officer said, no, they're over here. Well, the air officer went over there, and Waldron went over here, and he found the Jap fleet. And he called in the attack planes, And it was because of Waldron they were able to find the Japanese, and they sank 4 aircraft carriers, I think.
Yeah, they did 3 initially and then 1 a little bit later. Tell me what it's like when you're waiting for your plane or planes to come back, and you're waiting and waiting, and when do you finally realize they're not coming back?
You just keep hoping, and then finally the word comes out, they're not coming back. And then you just kind of go off by yourself and watch the ship in the water, and you think about your pilot and Bernie Phelps, and Bernie Phelps, the radioman in my airplane, when you checked out your pilot, when he came out, you got out of the cockpit, he got in, and he passed you his board that he kept his information on, and then you had to tell him how much fuel was on it, and if there was anything wrong with the airplane and so on, and you wished him good luck, and give him a pat on the shoulder or something. You were never that friendly with the officers, and so when I helped him on with his seatbelt and wished him well and get down off the airplane, as I was going down the right side of the fuselage, Bernie stuck his head out and he said, "Hey, Bill, in case I don't come back," he says, "here's my wallet." He says, "I was in a poker game last night and I won a few dollars. If I don't come back, see that my mother gets this." I thought, "Oh, Bernie, you'll be back here in an hour or so. Put it back in your pocket." And he did. And I never saw him again. But I still have that one thing in my mind, that he didn't go back. And he was a nice guy.